So, got the trackage laid in the brewery area and the other turnback curve. Got the gaps cut in, so I'll have to lay in some ties and get the rail joints and everything done there. And so, did everything properly this time. Made my switch machines and inserted them in the layout before laying the tracks, so getting them lined up with the switches and everything was a breeze. So facilities are in place there. Got this one area that's setting up right now. A little bit of plaster and plaster cloth on there to even out the area and stabilize it and make it sandable, so I can make a suitable road bed and gluing surface to put this last piece of Flex-Trak on there. So that worked out just fine. I actually didn't measure it for this, it just kind of came out that way, that one single piece of Flex-Trak makes it from the end of that switch right to the end of the dock area there. So the other thing I'm waiting for is I have to make the wooden insert with the T-nut in there to go in for the switch panel that goes there. So once that's in, I'll foam it in, everything will be embedded, nick of plaster cloth on it, then sand everything down, paint it, and lay some track. So anyway, that's the brewery area. So track is just about laid. All I got to do is poke through all the holes, do the marking on the underside, and route out the wiring channels, and then this thing will be ready for paint and all that other happiness. So just waiting on a little more coinage. Probably be a while before I can throw the money needed for ground throws and all the panels for the switch panel and stuff like that. So all the switches for the switch panel rather. So anyway, I'll look at what the tracks are and their function. This is going to be the glass track where the carloads of sand go in for the bottle plant. The track along the back here is the warehouse track, so that's shipping and receiving as far as shipment of finished product on insulated box cars and receipt of packaging materials on regular dry boxes. We've got the crossover there for this little passing siding, this little runaround here. It's good for about 3 average length cars, so maybe 4 if I've got some shorter boxes, hoppers, and the little sand car in there. Then these 2 tracks on the left are the grain spurs, and then this dock spur here will be the byproduct outlet. So plenty to go on there. I was initially going to use a number 4 for this crossover, but the space gain wasn't appreciable, but the ugliness of a pair of locomotives going through a number 4 crossover was definitely there, and decided if it's going to be an average 3-car runaround, regardless of what size switch I use, just go ahead and use the number 6s. They'll be a sight better, and I already have them, so might as well rock it. So that's the whole railroad. The other thing I thought about on my last road trip was that this railroad is largely made up of layout design elements. I didn't really plan it that way. It just kind of came out in such a way that, you know, the yard section could be taken out and function as part of more of a straight line section, or be added to a larger railroad, you know. And then this section here, I guess what we'll call the Sheridan module or the Lakewood module, is also reasonably straight and could be integrated elsewhere. And then of course the brewery module is mostly straight as well. So really there are 3 major layout design elements connected with some inconveniently tight radius twisty bits. But such is the space of the room. The room giveth and the room taketh away, blessed be the name of the room. So, and in this case, blessed be the layout. So anyway, yeah, this module here is an interesting industry. It would be the only one that would have to be severely changed if it were to be kept in the context of a straight line kind of layout. But considering how simple it is, replacing it wouldn't be that much of a tragedy if I had to move this whole package elsewhere and refit it to another room. So anyway, also we see some light at the end of the tunnel here because I have ported through the staging lead, and so see, I've cut the hole in the partition and finished that out. This module is still removable, so when it comes time to paint that and everything, I can remove this. This module has to be taken outside for painting anyway. See, it's kind of a diorama style where if you look here, I've cut some grooves in either side of these front supports. That'll hold a 18 by 24 inch piece of Lexan with the bottom 6 inches of the remaining, it's 24 by 24 square. The bottom 6 inches or so will be a, I guess, a fascia board, same thickness, and just drop right in there. And painted the same color as the fascia board throughout the rest of the layout. And then the rest of this framework and everything will be painted, I'm thinking green. And then up top here, I'll put a little plywood roof with the light fixture and everything in there. And then on this end, pretty much between here and maybe here, I'll put in a door, be hinged over here on the left side, have a little latch of some kind, I don't know, probably up top, just because I have room there. Down here I've got to make way for the section that has to clamp up to this, and have the drop leaf that connects this to the staging yard. And then I'll put something in the way of a backdrop there, fill up the remaining areas with foam, and then that'll be its own nice little piece of scenery. And I'll be using the east side of the I-25 overpass to disguise the hole over here, and the west side of it will be on the other side. So it'll make a nice clever transition. This will be fully scenic. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a fully scenic staging yard, even if it doesn't quite match up to the prototype. Just because I think it'd just be nice to have it scenic. I saw an article in Model Railroader recently about how somebody went with a scenic quote-unquote staging area and then ended up making it more like the prototype that he theoretically connected to. But anyway, nice straight bit of track there. And the reason for all this diorama business and walling it off and roofing it and putting plexi on the front of it is all because of the kitty. Ultimately, I don't want him figuring out that he can access the layout room through this hole, because as much of a fatso as he's getting to be, he's still pretty slinky. So I can just imagine coming home after a 2-day road trip and finding all kinds of hell and destruction, having been visited by the feline. So anyway, progress continues apace. Reballasted and glued the yard. Still don't know to what degree of success, but I'm just kind of laying off of it for right now. I find if I get too frustrated with these things, I'll end up taking it out on the layout, and who needs that? So better to leave it alone, and if it happens to work out in the meantime, fine. If it doesn't, everything's water soluble. Just pull it up and just start all over again. I won't do the rest of the scenery until that bit is taken care of, but there's obviously plenty of more work to do that doesn't involve scenery, so no point in getting too ahead of myself on this part of the yard. This one, on the other hand, is happening pretty nicely, so I think the more I can get done, if I get a bug for scenery, I'm sick of doing wiring or whatever, I can always take it out on this module, because everything in terms of track work and wiring is stable on this one. So anyway, that's a nice 10-minute little video. I think that's about as much as anybody can stand, and anybody should stand on this silly little railroad. You've seen so much of it already, and there's a beer that I need to attend to. So cheerio. I'm Mike Lindsay. Thanks for coming out.